What is up, guys? Teddy Cornwell here. Welcome to the Underdog Talk, the world's most fucking underrated podcast on earth. And as they say, John, there's just something about the underdog. But I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you can forget about the underdog for right now and focus on Impossible Kicks. Focus on the real Johnny Mac, the CEO of it all. What is up, sir? How you doing today, man?
How's it going, man? It's an honor to be here. I'm like so excited. I woke up, drank a couple cups of coffee, ready to rock. I'm very humbled. There was a lot of very successful guests you've had, and I feel like I'm infinitesimally small next to some of them. So this is really exciting.
Yeah, man, and Impossible Kicks has been just blowing up on my feed. I feel like it's the post, every other post, and I'm really interested. What is Impossible Kicks? Obviously, I know a little bit about it. You know, being a shoe reseller and being one of the biggest in the world. But
Yeah.
what actually is Impossible Kicks? I mean, how many locations do you have? What is the story behind creating it? What is all that went into Impossible Kicks?
Well, Impossible Kicks, it's kind of a funny story how it started. So my brother, who's, essentially 20 years younger than me, had this idea to come up with the sneaker resale concept. And I didn't understand it. I did the automotive industry for 23 years. And he was like, no, sneaker resale has been a big thing, and he took me to a couple stores. And I said, I just don't like these concepts, how they're laid out and they're structured. So I actually was on a plane coming back from Florida visiting some family in, late 2020. And it came to me. I was standing up to get my luggage and it just literally came to me. And we developed this attainable luxury experience that's kind of like, in essence, almost like a Louis Vuitton or going to a Gucci. We could try on the product. And, we opened up one location in West Hartford, Connecticut. A lot of people don't realize this concept was formed out of little tiny, Podunk, Connecticut. And, now we have 18 locations in 11 different states. And we are the largest brick and mortar resale company essentially in the world in terms of size, scale, and in gross sales, which is very exciting. Only three bigger companies than us right now are eBay, StockX, and Go. And so it's been crazy because we've only been open 2.5 years, so we've really swung for the fences on it, and we're getting a lot done.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I haven't heard of GOAT, so you are, to me, the third biggest reseller.
You're my hero because usually GOAT or StockX are the first names.
I have heard of StockX from some of the sneaker junkies out there, and I've definitely heard of eBay. Obviously, I don't think anyone hasn't heard of eBay. But what was the process of, obviously, you have that first location. What was the process of growing your locations to have multiple locations and now 13 locations? I mean, how difficult was that?
Yeah, 18 actually. So we did the first one, and then Billy Taubman from Taubman Properties reached out to me and he goes, why was there a 4-hour wait at your store on your grand opening? Can you do another one? So I agreed to open up a location in the Short Hills Mall in New Jersey. And we opened that one up. So essentially, we raised some angel investor money. We raised about 1.5 million our first several months open. And we opened, I went around and I seized up every opportunity that was available. So I went to Orlando, was a really unrepresented market, which is our top market right now. We have 3 stores in Orlando. I went to Tampa, which was an unrepresented market. We wanted to be in Denver, Beverly Hills, West Palm. So we went all over the place, opening up store after store after store, seizing up all these opportunities. And then it was kind of like a serendipitous moment. There was this gentleman that came in with his son, and his son went on a $10,000 plus shopping spree, buying sneakers. And we started making comments about watches because, I really like watches. And the gentleman goes, well, I raise venture capital for companies. If you're looking to raise money, let us know. And I reached out to him and he said, he goes, listen, I'd love to meet you. He goes, I'm in Amsterdam right now. I go, great. If you want me to get on a plane, I'll get on a plane and go tomorrow. And he's like, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm extremely, extremely serious." So he's like, "I like you. I'll send one of my bankers to come see you." So we organized that, and we put together like a kind of like a seed plus round, and we put it out there between like the rounds kind of stemmed from like a 10 million to like $25 million valuation round, like as our first tranche of capital, and it filled in like an hour. So we're like, wow. So we ended up raising $3 million in an afternoon, and that was it. And then we hired our executive team, and then I was on the road every 28 days opening a store. So we went from another store in Orlando to a store in Michigan to a store in Austin, Texas. I mean, we opened in Nashville. We went crazy. So it was kind of like I had to sacrifice my life and give up everything I had in order to get on the road and get it done, because it's almost like anything. It's like almost why like I have so much respect and admiration for like these fitness athletes. They don't realize what it is to kind of like isolate yourself and go and do something and come out with a very small moment of honors when it's tens of thousands of hours of work that you put into it. So we did that, and it was wildly successful. And now we're on to kind of I call this kind of like chapter 3, like 2023 is chapter 3, because we've only been a company essentially since the beginning of 2021.
And I mean, obviously, can you talk about some of the challenges that you faced in scaling up Impossible Kicks? Obviously, I mean, you were right during the pandemic, really, when you kind of opened
Yeah.
up. That had to be really difficult. And, getting your name out, obviously, you got, your name out pretty quickly. But what were some of the other big challenges, John, you faced in scaling up Impossible Kicks?
Well, my brother was the reseller, so my brother understood the dynamics, the
Mm.
authenticating part, the dynamics of the business. One thing that was foreign for me is I had never sold a sneaker. To go from zero to one of the best in the world in 2.5 years is kind of a crazy, unheard of thing, because I didn't even know what Jordan 1s or Jordan 6s or Jordan 8s or certain models. And I think that's what impresses some people and pisses some people off, because I just went into an industry which I had no experience with and just completely dominated it. But so obviously learning the business was a big challenge. Another big challenge was you got to remember, you go into a market when you don't have any kind of familiarity or know what it is. Like, for example, like you get plopped in Beverly Hills, or you get plopped in Orlando, or you get plopped in Denver, and it's like, okay, you're going to build something now. So it's becoming extremely resourceful and making friends, and bringing in the right contractors and the people that are going to help, or knowing where to get certain things, because you also have to advertise into a market you've never even visited before, and then ultimately be successful. And then you go to those markets, and then you need to staff it with the right people. So a lot of people don't understand that it's not just kind of showing up and putting sneakers on the wall. It's getting the product there, it's building the right infrastructure, getting the right people in place. And then after a couple of weeks, you hire these new people, and typically they're young professionals from 20 years old to 25 years old, and then you leave them, and then you need a successful store to be ran. So, it's a lot of challenges. And so if you take the aggregate of that, and then you look at, okay, well, I've done 18 of these, like for example, we did 10 store openings in just 2022. So we started the end of January and we finished the beginning of November. So you figure that, the end of November, I was like, oh my gosh, we have this massive company, and you're bringing in guardrails and infrastructure and making sure that everybody operates on, the right protocols that you put in place. So it's kind of getting everybody to march in line to get it done. So there's been quite a few challenges. On top of all, like, you have to do it personally. It's like a lot of, self-isolation that you have to do to get it done as well. You kind of step away from your family and your friends, and you're going out life, and you do this 24/7. It's all you obsess about.
You do have to be obsessed. You just have to be obsessed.
Totally.
I think that's what it comes down to. And obviously the sneaker market is I don't understand it, and I'm sure you do better than most people, but it's ever evolving. How do you stay ahead of the trends and anticipate what your consumers will want in the future? Or how do you keep the hot shoes, hot brands in stock and know what brands are going to hit in the future?
So, I hate being on Instagram as much as I am, but it's a necessary evil. So you really want to watch the trends.
Mm.
And typically I watch trends in women. What are women wearing? That was another thing for our reason for our success is there really hasn't been a concept that really appealed or was adjacent to women. You would go into a resale store and they would have, 85% of the store that would be palatable and set up for men. And they would have this little tiny section for women. And women own 66% more pairs of shoes or footwear, I should say, than men. So it would be kind of silly to, make a shoe store than have only a little bit as women. So, half of our store is men, half of our store is women. So that is very important to follow up on the trends that the women are really following. Obviously they get a pair of Lululemons or Aloe is really popular right now. What are they wearing with Aloe leggings? Typically Jordans or Dunks or something along those lines. Also, what are celebrities wearing? Are they wearing Dunks? Are they wearing Jordan Highs? Are they wearing Yeezys? Are they wearing Adidas? I mean, a big one is, Taylor Swift was wearing the New Balance red and white 550s. That shoe was kind of what we call a brick. No one wanted it. Now that Taylor Swift is wearing it,
Everyone's got to get it.
It went from the clearance rack back to the main rack, and with the price increase, So, so it's really following the trends on social media and what these celebrities are wearing. Like, for example, we do a lot in the fitness bodybuilding industry. It's kind of watching what people are wearing and we try to augment it and make it a little bit better. And, it's kind of flattering, everybody from, C-Bum down to a brand new, Bikini Pro or, from a SoundCloud rapper all the way up to Little Durk. I get the phone call on what's hot after watching the market.
So now I've got to ask the $1 million question. Who is the most famous celebrity athlete that has come into one of your stores and bought a pair of shoes, John?
Well, they're all equally important. I would say in terms of like size, scope, and being famous, we do a lot with C-Bum. Chris, if you're listening to this, thank you so much. Chris and I have developed a really good relationship. But essentially, in the fitness industry, C-Bum, Nick Walker, Aaron Banks. Guy Sistarino has been like a brother to me through all this. He's been great. He knows how much, I put into this and how much work I put into this. So thank you, Guy, if you're listening. On terms of like the full-blown celebrity side, Dana White buys sneakers from us. We've done stuff with Floyd Mayweather, Little Durk. I didn't realize how popular he was, but when we opened up our store in Beverly Hills, this guy came in and it was DDG. And I didn't realize, like, if you're in your early 20s, like he's like one of the most famous rappers, influencers. And he was just sitting there rapping with me and like, we follow each other on Instagram and he gives me his number and like, we bullshit like once a month. I think it's crazy. A longtime customer that we've had, and I actually consider him a very good friend. Joey Fatone from NSYNC. He always shops with us. I do a lot of stuff with him, but it's pretty crazy. I'm really trying to think of people in terms of followers. Jen Selter, we were sending her sneakers like right when we first opened. But yeah, we've gone from the mega influencers all the way down to small micro influencers. They all help the ecosystem for us.
Hey, everyone matters. Everyone counts for Impossible Kicks. Shout out Impossible Kicks and shout out all those guys you named, obviously. Now, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs, looking to enter the shoe industry or just looking to enter the business side of opening a business anyways? What would your biggest tip be for someone who is looking to start their business? And it doesn't have to be, actually, let's do this. What is your biggest tip for someone who's looking to start a shoe company like you or shoe reseller like you? Or what is your biggest tip for someone who's looking to just start a business after everything you've seen and learned, John?
Well, if you're going to start something and you're going to give it your all and you really want to be like industry defining, obviously the industry standard for something, you got to be willing to completely give up your life. There's no work-life balance. There really isn't. The other thing is, typically most people cannot fund the business all by themselves. And remember, an idea is worth zero a structured idea is worth everything. So for example, someone will say, well, I have this idea. The idea is wonderful. And, I give you a lot of credit for thinking about it and bringing that in, but the idea is worth zero. Structure it, put a deck together. How are you going to monetize? How is the dollar going to flow from coming in to going out? The investors want to see that. There's so much money out there. I mean, like, for example, I was telling you that, the most fascinating person you've had on your show to me is Billy McFarland, to raise $27 million. And I don't think people understand how hard that is.
Yeah.
It's not like people just go, oh, there you go. There's $27 million. That's a lot of hustling. That's hundreds of calls, probably thousands of calls. That's really learning how to sell. Also, if you want to be an entrepreneur, learn how to sell. A lot of people follow these very weird, dogmatic selling courses, and I think it's a scam. I heard people like, oh, I read this book and I attended this course. Like, you're not learning anything in the field. So go into, I would say, like, I did car sales for years. I mean, I sold for 5 years, and then I was on the management principal side for years, but that really taught me to get to where I am nowadays. But if you come up with an idea and you structure the idea by putting together a very good deck to see how it's profitable, there are millions of people out there willing to invest their money into you. So you can really take it to the next level. Because, I mean, if you're a young kid, I mean, I say kid between 20 and 30 years old, or, a young adult between 30 and 40, it's almost impossible for you to say, hey, listen, I'm going to put every single thing I have into this, or, an idea that's going to be a worldwide or national brand. 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 sometimes doesn't cut it. It takes a few $1 million. So go out there and find yourself a very good partner, not a partner that, like, works at Chick-fil-A that has good customer service, but I'm saying, like, a financial partner, someone that's done it there before. And that's really what my brother and I did, is we brought in somebody that was a good financial partner. He was, super high net worth individual that really helped and guided us along and helped me learn through the whole entire process. So bring in some mentors, structure an idea, go out there, raise some money, learn how to sell, and be willing to, give up your personal life for a few years, and then it can definitely be done.
Yeah, and one of my good friends and guests on the show, Ryan Lochte, was always talking about how you want to get someone who's done it before, or someone with that experience, someone who knows what they're doing. And that's why, the importance of coaches, or the importance of mentors, obviously, who have been there, done it, seen it. And I totally agree. Now, I mean, it's almost like Impossible Kicks is going to take over the world. I'm just going to say it is. In fact, fuck that. It is taking over the world. Excuse my French. My Lochte
Yeah.
will say, you have taken over the world. Give yourself a pat on the back, John. What is next for Impossible Kicks? Obviously, you just had another location open. I mean, is there more locations coming down the road? I mean, what's next for you guys?
So in the immediate future, between our plans for the end of the year to the beginning of next year, we have 3 locations opening up in Vegas. And that's going to be really exciting. We probably over the next 2 years are going to open up another 22 to 25 locations. And the biggest thing is kind of just building the moat and becoming the industry standard. We've gotten some phenomenal news and backing that they want us to open 20 stores in Southeast Asia, some infrastructure in Australia and in the UK. So the biggest thing is it's army of me, and there's another guy that's my right hand man who I'd say we run the company together equally 50-50 is Rod Granero. It's like we're still a young company and we're still really learning these things. So we want to expand internationally. But it kind of gets scary when they're like, yeah, your screen time was up 14%. You spent 16 hours and 43 minutes a day on your phone. You're like, oh God, and I just want to put the phone down and, take a couple of days off. But
Yeah,
there's a lot of exciting stuff coming. We're really going to focus on e-commerce next year. We really have a very good e-commerce platform. We really haven't pushed it out there, but we wanted something that accepted a lot of volume and didn't break. So between that and all the distribution, I would say by the end of 2025, you're probably looking at seeing about 40 Impossible Kicks throughout the country. Everybody will be within like a 3-hour driving range of it, no matter what, which would be exciting.
Bring one to Maryland, and let's
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
I thought you were that was in the plans. I was getting excited, and I do have to ask, what is your
Sure.
favorite kick? What is your favorite kick, John? I mean, do you
My
have?
favorite kick. I mean, we had no money in the very beginning, so I sold them. I had a pair of Jordan 1 Chicago Off-Whites. And now that I see them every day, like I love that sneaker. I loved wearing it. In the very beginning, my brother and I sold every single thing we had in order to make the business work. Yeah, that's my favorite sneaker. I just think it's beautiful. It's really, really simple and kind of understated. That and then I like the Jordan 1 Dior's. We sell tons of those at $8,000 to $10,000 a rattle. We do a lot of those.
What is your most expensive shoe that you have at any of your stores?
We have one pair of Jordan 1 Dornbeckers, and it was done for a children's hospital auction, and it's a size 9.5. It's one of one. It's $100,000. Yeah, I know, right?
And this is in one of your stores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in our store in Orlando, Millennia.
Anyone who's in Orlando and's got some bands to drop, please go get those and send me a picture of it. I really want to see what they look like on your feet, guys. That is awesome. And John, kind of wrapping this up, you're a big bodybuilding fan too, and
Huge.
Huge. What are your predictions for the Open, Classic, and Physique? Actually, yeah. What are your predictions for this year's Mr. Olympia?
So for men's physique, I'm a little biased, but I really feel that it's got a slam dunk. Is one of my closest friends is Aaron Banks. I think he's got it in the bag. If you see him in person, he looks just freakish. He's got a 25-inch waist and he's 3.5 feet wide. Yeah, it's crazy. When Aaron and I were walking around and Seth Ferosi saw Aaron for the first time, he went, "Oh my God, you're big." You don't realize until you actually see him in person because he's 6'2". So he gives this outrageous, not necessarily illusion. Well, it is an illusion, but his physique is just on point.
Yeah.
So that, and then I think that Chris is really just going to dominate. Classic again. He looks fantastic. He's trained really hard. And a lot of people don't realize how hard it is to live the life he does, where he's constantly traveling. He's always on a plane. He's always on the road, and he still looks that good to keep up with his nutrition. So he looks phenomenal. And then for Open, it's a very interesting thing. I mean, I think that, it's going to be a mix of, Nick Walker.
Yep.
I love Nick Walker. Nick Walker will check on me twice a week. How you doing, man? How's things? I think his side chest looks phenomenal and his back double looks phenomenal this year. So I think Nick Walker's got a great shot. Derek Lunsford looks as a beautiful physique. He looks phenomenal. Hadi, it's really hard to tell. I mean, he looks great, but it's really hard because the pictures are so sporadic. But I think he's a phenomenal athlete. Then I think Samson Dowd looks amazing. And also Hunter Labrada looks phenomenal.
Yes.
So, I think that's kind of your top five. Obviously it all really depends on how people come in. It's, I have to say that, Derek, Hunter, and Nick are really good friends of mine. So I really wish them the best on wherever they fall. But it's exciting because I'm in Orlando. I live in Orlando. And they'll be there. Yeah. So, a couple of the athletes are staying with me. So it should be really exciting.
Wow. And we had Brandon Hendrickson on the podcast. So I've got to say, just because we've had him on, I'm going for him for the
listen, phenomenal athlete. I think he looks great.
He's a 3-time champion. And when we were talking on the pod, that dude is hungry. So it's going to be a nice little fight between him and Banks. I really am excited for that. And, shout out Derek Lunsford, one of the most genuine guys I've ever had on the podcast. One of the coolest guys. The dude is class act. He sent me a free t-shirt. He sent me, he was just he always posted me on his story. Shout out Derek and obviously Nick. And, Hunter was a great guy. Hunter was on the podcast. Shout out Hunter. I think the bodybuilding community is just so awesome, John. I think it's so stacked with such good people. Everyone's thinking these guys are huge motherfuckers that are scary, but oh my God, they're the nicest guys in the world and they're the most caring guys in the world. But yeah, so you're going to the O this year, John.
Oh yeah, no, I'll definitely be at the O, and it's really good because I send a lot of them product when I can, and they're very, very, very loyal to me. And even everybody just on the behind the scenes, like like the Matt Jansen's,
Right.
and the Don Eichenbone, like they're just genuinely great people. Like everybody in the industry is great. And like I said, Guy Sistarino will hit me up every other day and just check on me. He's like, "How you doing, man?" Because a lot of people don't realize the stress in running a new startup.
Yeah.
They just think it's like, oh my God, it must be the most wonderful thing. Like, nah, it's brutal. It kicks your ass like every day, and your emotions are like
up and down,
are up and down,
Damn. And I mean, John, I love what you're doing, man. Impossible Kicks is taking over. Excuse my French, as Ryan Lochte says one more time, the fucking world. I mean, what you guys are doing is incredible. Now, John, before we go, the floor is yours. I mean, can we find Impossible Kicks online? I mean, can we find what's the Instagram? All of that. The floor is yours, sir.
So it's impossiblekicks.com and download the app. The app is on the Apple App Store, and it's at Impossible Kicks on Instagram. And we're always posting stuff there, but the biggest thing is you have to get into the stores.
Yes.
Once you get into the stores, people understand it. It's really fun. You got music bumping, everything. Everybody's having a good time, and my phone's sliding all over the place here. Everybody's having a really good time, and there's a bunch of stuff to try on. You kind of get immersed in the whole experience. So it's awesome. If you haven't been to one, you definitely got to check one out.
Definitely. And first person to buy a shoe from Impossible Kicks, send me a screenshot. We'll get you one of our good friend Brandon Cook's helmet out to you, signed from the Dallas Cowboys, who was on the podcast. Shout out.
And I'll send you the first person to buy a pair of sneakers in store from Impossible Kicks. I'll actually even send them an Impossible Kicks hoodie too as well. So,
well, you guys heard it here. I mean, John is taking over the world, and I mean, there's no underdog in this man. This man is the top dog. Fuck the underdog. And John, thank you so much for taking your time to come on the podcast, man. Guys,
thank you, man. I appreciate it, Teddy.
Guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, the man behind Impossible Kicks, the real Johnny Mac, and the underdog out.